All right, Evan Lazar, let's get this thing started and let's end it quickly because I don't think anybody wants to relive much of what we just witnessed with the Patriots. This is 33-6. This was one of the biggest slogs. If you're a Patriots fan or someone who follows the team that you can remember. And again, people are going to be looking back, trying to figure out if they can locate another game that was as bad start to finish in every facet of the game as this one was for the Patriots. So there's a million things that happened that were awful on Sunday, Evan, in this 33-6 home loss, the worst in the Belichick era. But the story is going to entirely revolve around Cam Newton. So let's start there. This was a miserable performance from Cam, save for maybe a couple of throws on one drive that also ended poorly. But why don't you get into what you saw out of Newton in this game?
Look, it's going to continue to be an unpopular take, and I'm going to keep on dishing it because it's the cold, hard truth here. For the 4 straight games, the quarterback play has been the worst part about this team. It's really that simple. Against the Raiders, Cam Newton was not good. Against Kansas City, we obviously know that Hoyer and Stidham weren't good. And the last 2 games since Cam returned from the coronavirus, not good and not good. The Patriots, quite frankly, are just not getting good enough quarterback play this season right now to be a competitive football team against good teams. It's that simple. You know, their defense has holes personnel-wise that we can get into. This was a bad matchup for them defensively, and it exposed a lot of things that they have issues on defense. Offensively, there's open receivers, there's protection, there's clean pockets, there's all things going on that we can see that, okay, listen, you might not know who the receivers are, you might not know who they're throwing to at tight end, you might not have ever heard of Demir Bird in your life, but I'm telling you right now that we can all watch it from the press box. We can watch it on TV and see open receivers and ability to move the football in different ways through the air that are not being done because Cam is not playing well. And I'm sorry. I know it hurts to hear as a Patriots fan. I know it hurts to hear as a Cam fan, but that's just the cold, hard truth.
Yeah. And Evan, again, it's harder to see on TV. So you're there and you're seeing it and you're seeing the open receivers. And obviously you can't see it from the television game angle. So there's a lot of people at home right now wondering, and this was the debate had last week as well. Is it the receivers? Do we need weapons? And everybody quickly piled on that. And then most people like yourself who went and looked at the film after and said, well, weapons aren't great, but there were open receivers. Cam just didn't see them, or he got to that progression a little bit late, or they flashed open and he just hesitated, or he held the ball too long, or never looked to that side of the field. And there was a few instances last week. It felt like today there were a ton of those instances on a lot of plays where he was just holding the ball, or just getting rid of it to the right receiver, but too late.
Right. And I think that that's the biggest thing is this misconception that there aren't open receivers really comes from, and it's no fault of it, the viewer, it comes from the broadcast angle, right? We're not really getting a great look when you watch a game on TV of who is open downfield because the receivers, after they run 8 yards, are off the screen. So how could you possibly evaluate? So when you look at that and you see Cam just ball in the pocket, patting the ball in the pocket, is that there's nobody open, that he's looking around and there's nobody open. Well, that's not always the case. So I think what we saw here today are 2 plays that really exemplified to me the issues, the microcosm of these issues right now. The first one was actually a completion by Cam Newton. He completed a pass to Jacoby Myers on what's called a flood concept. So you flood the left side of the field with a flat route, a go route, and then a corner route into that window. And Jacoby Myers is open for about, I would say, a beat to a beat and a half where Cam Newton actually throws the ball to him. And by the time he throws the ball to him, the safety is already on top of him because he sees him open, and they're crashing down right on Jacoby Myers. Now, the ball is complete. They moved the sticks on the play, I believe. But the problem is that if the ball comes out earlier and on time, well, now you give Jacoby Myers some space to run with the football after the catch and make a play and make that safety miss potentially and gain more yards after contact. So that's what's not happening. The other one was the interception of Julian Edelman. That's such a perfect example of how chemistry and receiver and quarterback just aren't matching up right now. Edelman ran his patented option route. He's got a 3-way go. He can go left, he can go right, or he can sit down against zone coverage. His initial instinct was to sit down. Then he realized that the coverage had collapsed on him because the ball didn't come out quickly enough. So he cut inside to kind of get away from the defender, and Cam threw it to the old spot, and it goes off Edelman's hands right up in the air and is intercepted. So that's chemistry right there. player that's not getting the ball out on time and not being able to anticipate those passing windows on the throw to Jacoby Myers. And that's the issue that we are seeing right now with Cam. I see the comments. I know I'm going to get them on Twitter. We have no receivers. We have no receivers. They could have Randy Moss and Wes Welker and Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski in his prime and Julian Edelman in his prime out there right now. If Cam continues to play the way that he's playing, it's going to look ugly.
Well, yeah, and speaking of which, anybody mentioning Rob Gronkowski and other players in their prime, don't go look at the Tampa score if you're feeling a little bit uneasy about yourself right now, because Brady put on a clinic and arguably his best game as a Buck this year, and Rob Gronkowski starting to look like Rob Gronkowski again. So nobody wants to hear that, but again, people do just want to know what's going on. You mentioned those two situations. There were others as well. Harry, when he was still in the game, one time was open over the middle of the field. Newton didn't see him. Then on third down, he delivers it late in the flat, which, in short of the sticks. The pass that he throws to N'Keal Harry and gets him killed, that ball's not going to go anywhere on third down. You're just, there's nothing.
The worst part about that one too, John, is that it was the wrong throw.
Yeah.
So N'Keal Harry they're running double angle routes, right? So they have one angle route that's a little bit shorter and then one angle route that's a little bit longer. And the low hole player came and cut off N'Keal Harry. And if he had just waited a beat for the second angle route, the longer route to kind of develop, then he wouldn't have had help to the middle of the field and he probably had a completion there. Right. I'm going to go back and watch that one in a few minutes because I really felt like watching it live that was the wrong decision there. And that's what got N'Keal Harry knocked out of the game because the low hole player came and blew him up right when he caught the football. So just decision making, anticipation, ball placement, I mean, everything that you look for in quarterback play, Cam did it poorly today. And it's just the truth.
And the one that everyone's going to remember was the 10-yard out that he bounced 5 feet short. Was it a bird?
Yes.
I mean, that's, again, could be slipped out of his hand. Who knows? That's as ugly a throw as we've seen any quarterback make in New England in 20-something years. I'm going back to the days of Secules and Hodson to see something that grotesque.
He had a bad one to Edelman too last week towards the end of the game. I think it was the final drive of the game. Maybe even the ball just went right into the ground. He had that hand issue or arm issue that he was kind of flexing last game.
Right. And again, everyone was looking at that. Nobody knows if there's an injury there.
Maybe that is extending into this game. But look, I think more so than like the errant throw that you pointed out to Bird, it's about process, right? Is he going through it? Is he going through the process correctly? Because I can live with bad throws. Bad throws are going to happen. Tom Brady has bad throws every once in a while too, or the ball just comes out of his hand weird, or he just sails it. Jimmy Garoppolo sailed one over George Kittle's head, wide open receiver in the middle of the field on Devin McCourty.
A little bit of pressure, but he had
had him wide open and he sails it over his head. It happens, right? But the problem is the process clean? Right? Is the process, the mental processing, the feet, are they lining up with the timing of his drops and the timing of the route and the timing of the play call, all those types of things. And we're just not seeing good quarterback play right now.
And you did mention it at one point on Twitter that you thought last week you mentioned Cam's mechanics had regressed a little bit. And we said maybe practice had something to do with that and he needs his reps. And there was a point on Twitter you did mention that you felt that mechanically, he looked a little bit more sound, which again is all the more worrisome because most of it is here now. He's not getting it, or it's just not working for him right now, and that's worrisome here because he's not seeing the field. The right
100%. I would like to go back and watch some of the throws first before I comment on his mechanics completely. But from what I saw in that one drive, even the throw to Myers that I pointed out earlier, his mechanics were actually pretty solid. He missed the initial kind of timing of the play, but he was able to elude the rush and still throw from a decent base to get the ball there to Myers before the safety closed on him. So his footwork was better. He wasn't throwing with parallel feet to the line of scrimmage. He was moving off his spots a little bit more this game than last game. He was able to step into some of his throws a little bit more this game than last game. But I think the biggest thing that we are seeing is that this is a timing precision offense. And I just don't know, quite frankly, if Cam Newton has the mental processing speed to run in a system like that. He's a see it, throw it quarterback. He's somebody that needs to see a guy open, and then he's going to use his hose to just fit it into whatever window it's going to be fit into. But that's not the Patriots offense.
But let me ask you that, because this is the question is, a strength of Belichick over the years has always been adapt to your personnel. Okay.
Right.
At this point, the most important person on the field is the quarterback, in the sense that you mentioned this team's not going anywhere if it doesn't get improved quarterback play. It doesn't matter. For every other flaw you can nitpick, issues with the linebackers, sometimes the front seven can get exploited a little bit.
Right.
The weapons aren't great, but there's a lot of things you can point to, but you're going nowhere without this. So at what point do you say we have to build a new offensive strategy if you're going to have Cam Newton as your quarterback there? Unless, of course, you think Stidham is the person who can play in that precision offense, in which case you got to start getting him reps and getting him in the game and see if you can salvage the season. We'll get to Stidham in a minute, but I mean, ultimately, is it up to the Patriots to maybe adapt a little bit here? Cam's not going to be that, take the quick drop and get the ball out in 2.4 seconds. It's just not going to happen.
Right. I would love to see them be able to do some things like that make this offense a little bit more Cam friendly. And I think they have done things in the past. What we saw, we always go back to that week 2 in Seattle, because that's when it looked the best, right? And they're getting a little bit more vertical up the field. They're running more vertical concepts, 3-go routes, things like that with conversions, obviously, things that are a little bit more Cam-like, where he's kind of just watching the field, deep part of the field, waiting for somebody to come open and then slinging it, right? Now what we're seeing, though, I think more in the last couple of weeks is, what Josh McDaniels talked about during training camp, that this is Cam Newton adapting to the Patriots offense with stylistic changes to fit Cam. The read option plays, some of the running game things that they've done, some of the spacing things that they've done with empty formations and things like that. But they can't fully throw out the foundation of the system and start completely from scratch, especially in season at this point, or with a shortened training camp like they had this summer. So changing the entire scheme is out of the question. It's out of the question. So that really kind of suggests that maybe they need to change the quarterback. I don't know if I'm there yet. I think that you kind of give Cam one more week to see if maybe this truly was COVID just completely throwing him off the rails here, and that time off that he missed really screwed him over. But right now, when I watch Jarrett Stidham play, it's still not pretty. There's still issues, right? Throwing it inside shoulder instead of outside shoulder to Julian Edelman. But at least when he hits his back foot, most of the time, a decision is probably made, right? And he had that one throw to Jacoby Myers that I pointed out on Twitter, where he got to the top of his drop. He saw the seam route cleared out the coverage. He saw Myers sit down on that stick route. Ball was out. Ball was on Myers. That's Brady, right? That's the Patriots offense. And we just haven't seen that enough from Cam.